Alright, welcome. This is a demo of King Pong, the statistical tracker for all ping-pong playing Galvanize full stack students. So let's jump in and take a tour. Here's our homepage, and we kind of have three main components. We have the page where you can actually add your statistics after you play a game of ping pong. We have the leaderboard where we're going to be able to see the top 5 players in a few categories, and we have our player stats page where we're going to be able to look at the individual stats of a player or compare two specific players on their historical stats against each other. So let's jump in and add some stats. So this is our form where we can submit after every game we play. We have the links or the navigation links back to our other pages here. So if we go ahead and try to submit the form as is, we'll see that there's a whole bunch of validation. So you have to choose player 1 and player 2. They have to be different people. We have to specify how many points we played to. Right now, it can go from 0 to 21. We must choose a winner. Score is optional. That's for some tracking on the point difference in the game, which is kind of a cool stat to track, but not required. The date, time also optional, and comments also optional. So I have some sample players here. So let's add Mr. Krabs playing Patrick. They played to 21. Mr. Krabs won 21. Let's just test this out. I don't care about time and comments right now. Oh, May 18th was the date that our class started, so I just make sure that no one's trying to input a game before we all met each other. And yeah, so you'll see I selected Mr. Krabs as the winner, but I gave Patrick more points. That's not going to fly. Let's give him 17. That should work. And that brings us to the leaderboard. So right now there are only 5 or 6 players input in here, so pretty much everyone's going to show up on the leaderboard. Over time, there should be a lot more. So it'll be kind of a more interesting tracker. But so we're tracking on who's won the most games. Mr. Krabs at the top, as usual. The win rate, so how many games you're winning out of how many you played. We also show who's playing the most. SpongeBob up at the top there, but apparently not very talented, not on the winner board. Winning point difference, so who has beaten their opponent by the most points. Longest win streak, how many games have you gone without losing. You'll see you actually can show up on this board twice, so that if you win 5 games, you lose 1, then you win 10. Those are 2 really long streaks. We kind of decided that you deserve to be on the board twice for that. So Mr. K again crushing it. And opponents beaten. So not only did you win 5 games, but 4 of those games were against different people, which is kind of a cool fact. So that's our leaderboard. Now let's go in and look at player stats. So as I said earlier, there are 2 options. You can look at the stats for one individual player. So if we looked at someone from our class right now, so Martha hasn't played any games yet, so you'll still see her table of stats, but it won't be filled in. Everything will be zeros or NAs. But if we looked at Patrick, we'll see that he's played 6 games. He's won 3. His win rate's obviously 50%. His highest winning point difference was 3 against Larry the Lobster. He won all 3 of his games in a row, so that's his highest streak, and he's beaten 2 unique players. So we can go back and let's say we wanted to compare Patrick to, well, let's say we want to compare Patrick to himself. Hopefully we're not able to do that. Yeah, so no one has to be their own opponent, so we have to choose 2 separate players. Let's look at Patrick against Squidward. So, oh, they don't have a very interesting history. So Squidward has won the only game that they've played against each other. He's got a 100% win rate, won by 6 points, and so his streak is 1. This isn't a very interesting one. Game commentary will come up. If there have been comments input on the games, it'll show a feed on that side. So let's look at someone that has. So Patrick and SpongeBob have played 2 games against each other, and there was comments put in one time. There were comments put in one time, rather. And so you'll see that come up on the side. So this is King Pong as it stands right now. Some features that I'm working on adding are the ability to add new players into the database. So as you saw, when you're adding stats, you can choose between a pre-populated list. I have my sample players up here, and the rest are our Galvanize class pre-populated because that's going to be the main user base right now. I'm going to add features for adding anyone who wants to play. Also going to do kind of a, so right now anyone can add stats, any bystander, any player can add stats and they'll go right into the system. So there isn't really a check for whether or not that is valid input as far as an opponent confirming that yes, they actually have been beaten by 21 points or they have been beaten 5 times in a row. So there will be some sort of system in place to send the statistics to both players before they get input so that they can confirm that, because there isn't a way to go back in time and delete your statistics. Once they're in, and that's your history. Also going to work on integrating this. There are a couple of other apps out there around ping pong. I'm going to work on integrating with a ping pong scheduler and a ping pong player status. So hopefully over time you'll be able to see a schedule of when the table is available, which players are available to play, and pick a time slot, get your game set up there, and then after you play, input your stats, and it'll be one whole integrated system, which will be pretty cool. But for now, this is King Pong. So I'll see you on the table.